Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 HOSPO Health podcast. I'm Sherri Ring. I'm the Chief Happiness Officer for the Tasmanian Hospitality Association, and I'm joined this season by none other than the former Premier of Tasmania, Peter Gutwein. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Sherri, and look, thanks for inviting me. I am so thrilled to be a part of these conversations where we're going to hear stories that are going to teach us, inspire us. I think they'll make us laugh and probably make us cry as well. But it's great to be a part of it. Let's get on with it.
Let's go. Did you know that 85% of successful leaders attribute their growth to regularly reflecting on their personal and career experiences? Today we're going to dive into the personal and professional journeys that shape our careers, and we're thrilled to be joined by David O'Byrne, the Independent Minister for Franklin. David has a long history of service in the Tasmanian political arena and is recognised for his dedication to his community and the people of Tasmania. Outside of politics, he's the President of Southern Football League. We're going to chat to Dave about the challenges he's faced from his career to his time in Parliament, the moments that have shaped his decision-making, and what it takes to build a meaningful career while staying true to your values. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Sherri. How are you?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite.
David, fantastic to have you on.
Good to see you, Peter.
Well, we've known each other for a long period of time.
Very long time.
Through the same high school. I went through a bit before you.
Yeah, I came grade 7 and you just left grade 10, but your presence was still felt in the school community there, Peter.
And then we had that brief moment where I was your football coach.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And we both share a love for the South Launceston Football Club.
We do. That's East Launceston obviously was one of those great working class clubs out of Launceston that produced a lot of good people. Didn't produce a lot of premierships, and then in the early years of the statewide league, they were lucky to get the first licence out of Launceston with North Launceston, then amalgamated with City South, and so South Launceston is a creation of both of those clubs, but very close to my heart, and I'm sure yours.
And overall, you played senior football there,
yep.
And Sandy Bay as well?
Yeah, so when I moved south, so my junior football with East Launceston coming through playing with East, and I played in the first year. In fact, I'd say I played the first ever game South Launceston played, and that was under-19s, was when I think it was 2 months into the season, it was realised that East couldn't, City South and other clubs couldn't have all of the teams in the statewide league and the local league. And the first team to run out the amalgamated East and City was South Launceston at Blue Gum Park in Georgetown, and all three teams got a touch up by Georgetown. And then I played reserves and seniors. I played a couple of years of football in Adelaide when I went to university over there. And when I moved down south in the end of the 94 season, I did travel back up to Launceston with Dale Waitman as coach, but then ended up at Sandy Bay and then the ill-fated Southern Cats for my last year of statewide footy, but played a fair bit of footy, yeah.
And so it's a finer point, but on that first day, if you played in the first game and you were in the under-19s,
yeah,
you would have actually played in the very first game
yes.
that South Launceston were involved in.
That's right. Yeah, wow. That's a bit of history, isn't it? So it seems, and I remember we're all a few years back, great Launceston character Rod Patterson organised a 30-year reunion of that 86 club, but also the players who had played since, and it was great to get and just reflect on those big moments in community football, moving from the NTFA regional football to a statewide league, clubs falling over, but out of the ashes, a greater than the sum of the parts kind of club in South Launceston being created. So yeah, it's significant. And remembering those changes in football and why certain decisions were made actually has helped me in my SFL role, to be honest, and understanding the importance of communities. And football isn't just about getting drafted; it's about families, it's about communities coming together. Like when someone gets sick in a community town, where do they go? They go to their sporting club. They go to their football club to look for support and look for help. Where do we mourn? At the football club. And so those communities are really strong. And that background has really assisted me in trying to make the best decisions I can for football in the south of the state. And I'm glad I can say that openly. Sadly, my father has passed away, but he was a very strong northerner, and the fact that I'm passionate about southern football, he would be very disappointed in me.
Well, as a passionate northerner and as the president of the NTFA,
Yes,
I
yes.
can hardly
Congratulations.
hardly wait until we get on the ground and play that inter-series, the rep games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Yes, bragging rights on the line.
It'll be good to give you a touch-up. Now, taking next step into our questions. And the first question is has a football leaning.
Yep.
Now, in football, players often review match videos to learn from their performance. How do you use reflection to review the play after key moments in your career?
Yeah, it's actually good. And when I sort of had a quick scan of those questions, and it's a really good analogy, and I actually think it exposes, like when you look at a football, you look at the video and you play by play, and you can actually see everything. You actually can, the weather conditions, how many players are around the ball, who does what decisions are being made. In life, you rarely get that luxury. You don't know what other decisions are being made around you. You don't know a whole range of other things on the table. So I think when you have an event or you make a decision or something's happened, it's really important to, and a great old saying that an old stager told me once, he said, it's never as good as it seems, it's never as bad as it seems, David. And so having that kind of don't panic, assess what's happened, try to get your head around it, but don't close the door on it, because in a week, in a month, in a year, someone will say something to you or mention something about the event or the issue, and you'll go, I had no idea that was at play. I had no idea that was going on. So I think when you review your life, your decisions, your moments, you never close off to it. It's always a learning moment. I know that sounds like a bit wanky to say learning moment, but it actually is, because we all sort of at times you sit down, you have a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever, and you think about something that happened. It just comes into your mind about 10, 15 years ago, and you go, right, well, when I immediately reviewed that, I thought it was X. As I've got older, as I've got more experience, as I've had more conversations and understand who I am as a person more as you grow, you learn more about that. And I'm still learning from things that I did years ago. And so the play-by-play review is a good analogy, but it's completely different to real life. Because when you see a football, you do the play-by-play, you can slow it down, you can slow-mo, you can see everything, but you don't know everything in real life.
It is pretty fascinating though, isn't it? I mean, because that's how teams, bond and get...
That's right.
I mean, if you did this in a workplace, how interesting would that be?
Yeah, exactly right. So all of the circumstances, and look, I've been involved and led teams in different circumstances through, political campaigns, industrial campaigns, community campaigns. When we were working and with the Beacon Foundation and dealing with youth unemployment, you always try to bring people together to try and get a greater awareness. But you do it with a level of humility to understand you'll never know the full play, but it's a constant challenge for you to go, well, I want to understand more about how I acted in that circumstances. Is that my type? Is that my personality type? Do I need to sort of adjust in terms of other people and how they respond to that? So, and as I'm 55 now, mate. It's you learn over the journey to when you're younger, and like I was thrust into a leadership role really early in my career, and you think you know everything, you think you do, and you don't.
And much less likely when you're younger to do a lot of self-reflection. I mean, I know I do a lot now, but I wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. Yeah,
and also when you're one of the youngest in the room in a leadership role, you desperately want to, the ego kicks in. You want to prove yourself. You want to, I'm worthy to be at this table. I can make decisions, and I'll be the guy that you need to do the job. And so, as you get older and you understand that you don't have to be that person. But and that we all make mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Dave, you switched from a senior party member to becoming an independent politician. Reflecting on that transition, what did that teach you about adaptability? Yeah, this is a very good question, because I think it's circumstances always change. Everything around you is moving, and you subconsciously respond and adapt. In terms of how you react and respond, moving from, and I've been a collectivist, I've been a part of teams, and I believe in collective decision making. I believe in working with others to get stuff done. And I saw that theory of change politically through a party position. And I always thought, well, that's how you achieve change. And you do. You can achieve change. But what I learned was that it's not the only way to achieve change. And so we all adapt at various moments. Being conscious of that adaptation and your role in that is really important. But what I think is I didn't need to adapt my values. I didn't need to adapt how I approach problem solving. And I was actually, and I'm not, there are good and bad in everything. Being independent, it's good and bad. Being in a party, it's good and bad. But I felt like I could actually have a greater level of control about how I explained my personal values. Because when you're in a party, there's party solidarity and a caucus, and you have to respect that because that is a really legitimate way of making a decision and getting things done. And you can have an argument inside the room, but at the end of the day, you need to land on a proposition. And you can't go out and say, well, I disagree with that and I think they're wrong, but I'm just going to roll with it. That creates problems and it's created greater issues for people. And so you're not able to explain your thought process sometimes. And so in terms of adaptability, adapt to the circumstances, but don't change who you are as a person. Don't change your values. And like the reason why I got involved in politics is not because of the Labor Party. I got involved in politics because my parents gave me some values to make people's lives better. And politics was the pathway I chose. And the Labor Party, was the party I chose because it reflected my values. It doesn't mean your values change. So adapt to the circumstances, but fundamentally, if you sell yourself out, then you're not going to go anywhere.
That's a great answer.
Good answer. Now, next question. Believing in yourself is, in many cases, the difference between success or failure, especially in pivotal moments. What do you draw on to maintain self-belief, whether in your role in politics or as the SFL president shortly to come up against the NTFL?
Well, history will be the judge of that clash, that mighty clash, and because we've got a couple of games coming up, and so we've got our Premier League and Community League. So I'm pretty confident I'll be 2 for 2 at the end of the day. Anyway, that's the rivalry. So getting to that question, how do you know? Well, as I've gone through my career in working life and whatever, just you sort of, and sometimes it's conscious and sometimes it's subconscious. You hone the environment you create to try and make the best decision. You try to understand what the circumstances are that you're facing. You try to understand the nature of the problem. You talk to people who are smarter than you. You get them involved. You reflect on their advice or their views. And like in my role, even in my role as an independent, I have a team around me. I've got good people who work with me, and we talk a lot, and we test ideas. And go, well, what do you think about X, and what do you think about Y? And then it's really important that you create an environment where people can go, well, that's a dickhead idea. That's a rubbish idea, Dave. What are you thinking about that? And go, okay, well, the reason why I thought about this was X and Y. They can then reflect on their position, and through that process, you thrash out the extremities of a decision or a moment you need to make. And if you have the luxury of time, you can go away and reflect and think. If you don't have the luxury of time, you just trust that you've made enough decisions and you've got the right people around you, that it's a collective decision that you go, okay, are we all comfortable with this? Not ideal. And also sometimes people make, the perfect the enemy of the good. There are in so many things in life, you can say, I really want this to occur in a perfect world. But rarely do we get confronted with those circumstances. So you have to be satisfied that you're applying your values, you're understanding the nature of the problem as best you can, you've got people around you who will test your thinking and critique and apply that rigour, and then at the end of the day, the decision you make is the right one because it's the one that you have to do to move on with. And it's never perfect.
Yeah.
And you can go back and reflect on it, like as we spoke about before, and you're going, well, had I known X and Y, I may have been different, but I didn't know that. I tried to find out as much as I could. And the moments where you fall over, and I've done this, is you just go, right, it's a gut feeling. And, 9 out of 10 times, maybe 8, maybe in my case 5 out of 10 times, your gut feeling's right.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and you just need to get on and understand it. So the next decision is a better one.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to be said for listening to your gut.
Yeah, I agree with that, your values, but it's also important that you don't go off on your own, particularly when, as you know, Peter, coming into the NTFA, you have a whole range of personalities, a whole range of club presidents who are at different stages of their role at their club. Their club have different needs, different challenges. You need to get your head across all of that so you can reflect and go, well, we can't actually deliver on all of these things for everyone, but we can get most of it done. But guess what? We're not going to forget that. We understand where you're at and we'll find another way through, but we can't do it now. And so just managing those people. But your gut, if people support you in a leadership position, footy or whatever, and if there's a level of trust and, there's motivations to do the right thing, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. Dave, when you face a setback or a tough challenge, how do you mentally reset?
Yeah, I've had a few of those. It's really every person, and everyone's got advice, so everyone will tell you their way, but you've just got to find your way.
Yeah.
Got to find what works for you. And for me, it was the love of my family and friends and getting them around me and knowing that I'm not, because sometimes in politics it is a blood sport. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but people make it. And they try and dehumanise you or frame you in a way which isn't you. And so grounding with your family and friends about reminding who you are is really important. Your physical health is super important. And I run, and I've now joined. I'm not really a gym person, but the last couple of years I've joined a gym and I'm doing yoga and boxing and all of that sort of carry on, and I'm loving it. It's such a great supportive gym in Argyle Street, Hobart, HDC.
I did a couple of sessions
Sherri,
at that boxing place. It was
And
brilliant.
Sherri, I mean, you set me on the path of getting someone, because as a footballer you think you know everything, and I know, I'll just go for a run, I'll do X and Y. But when I did a couple of sessions with you, you really sort of, okay, well, maybe I need someone to fix my technique. Maybe I need someone to motivate me. And
it's so important for your mental health as well.
That's right, and the dopamine, and just working through that and going for runs. And during, like I had people would know I had a bit of an issue a few years back. Did a lot of running up around the mountain, the pipeline track, across the north-south track, over at Risdon Dam, running and just processing what was going on. But so physical health is important. Grounding yourself in your own values and reminding yourself who you are, because when other people try to frame you in a certain way or call you something that you know you're not, you can't listen to that. You need, because it's around you, you'll hear it. But you do need to ground yourself in the people that you love, and it's never the best of times. It's never the worst of times.
Yeah.
So and there's I saw a video. When you doom scroll on your Instagram, and I saw Tom Hanks around a group of actors, and he said, "I wish I'd learnt this saying a lot earlier. This too shall pass."
Yeah, I love that
This
saying.
too shall pass. And again, and I remember, like, my mum was a big influence in my life, and my sisters and our whole family, actually, the extended family, the matriarch of the North, as we called her. She'd always say, just have a sleep. You'll be all right in the morning, darling. You'll be all right in the morning. So you don't forget those things, and you hold on to them, and you'll get through.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's a great answer, to be honest. Now, what learnings have you taken from your past leaders that have guided your own approach to balancing leadership while staying true to your own values?
Yeah, and leadership forms in different ways. It's not the role, it's the person. Like when I started working for the union down here in Hobart, the Miscellaneous Workers Union, we looked after contract cleaners and women, part-time workers, in 99% women who work between, anywhere from 8 o'clock at night to midnight, or from 4 a.m. to 7, and you sort of spend a lot of time with them, and they're pretty tough and they're resilient and they call it out, and so leadership is not the role, it's the person, and a person who is not in a leadership role that you come across, and they'll say something or they'll do something and they'll just demonstrate leadership. And so there are leaders everywhere, our ability not to be focused on the position but the person that you're either engaging with. So over the years, I've been very privileged to represent, work with, and call my friends people who've exhibited levels of leadership which I've sort of cobbled together to learn to understand. Couple of the big moments for me is don't be afraid to make a decision, because you'll pretty soon you won't be in a position to be able to make one. So if you're in a role, make a decision, stand by it, and don't dither. Don't sort of delay for the sake of delaying, because you won't catch up again on that time. And so, and Peter, you've experienced that, and I acknowledge your leadership in particularly during the COVID time, because I'm sure there were moments where, you were advised not to make a decision, but you did. So I want to acknowledge your role in this publicly, but also remembering other lessons. You're never the smartest person in the room. Never think you are. Don't judge. Ask questions. What's that Ted Lasso saying? Be inquisitive.
Yes.
Be curious. Be curious. Not judgmental. So I must admit, watching Ted Lasso, when I had my sort of challenges a few years ago, Ted Lasso saved my life.
We all love Ted, let's face it.
Everyone says, there's a couple of cliches in there, but there's a reason why they're cliches, because they mean something to people. They resonate. And don't just ignore them because you've heard them before. Understand what is beneath that saying. And so, be curious, not judgmental.
Believe.
Football is life. Loss or death.
Quick fire 5. So they're 5 quick questions that we'll ask, and we just need you to give us 5 quick answers.
Okay, well, you've gathered I can talk a bit, so I'll do my best.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and how's it shaped your journey?
From my mum. I don't want to hear you complaining about what's gone wrong. I want to hear about what you did to make it better.
Oh, I love that.
That is nice. What's a misconception about you that you wish people understood?
Well, as I said before, politics is pretty dehumanising. And the thing is with me, like I have a bit of a sense of humour, which is a bit sort of, I don't sort of try to curate an image. And I put T-shirts on which say stupid things, and I joke about them. And sometimes people see that out of context. And they see a snippet on the media, or so they snippet of something on social media, and they think that's you. So I am who I am. I'm just a bloke who wants to make a difference. I've got a silly sense of humour at times, and sometimes it's inappropriate. I reflect on that and I've gone, probably shouldn't have said that. Probably shouldn't have put that T-shirt on. So it's not a quick 5 answer, I'm sorry. But just, sometimes I'm not the person that people, and in politics you get framed a certain way. I'm not that person.
And see, Todd Sampson gets away with that.
Yes, he does.
Just.
If you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Oh, you'll be okay. Don't sweat it. You'll be okay.
Great advice.
Great answer.
How do you hope to be remembered, both personally and professionally?
Well, I won't be remembered for my great footballing skills and talents. I was a bit of a scrapper and I worked hard. And so, to be honest, someone who at every opportunity tried to make a difference, tried to make the world a little bit of a better place. And again, it's just coming to my head again. This is Ted Lasso quote. What is it? I'd rather all of us or none of us are judged on our weakest moments, but the actions we take if and when we get a second chance. So I suppose in terms of just someone who really didn't always get it right, but tried his best to make a difference.
Yeah, and you're ticking all those boxes, Dave.
Thank you, Sherri.
Lastly, what's a book, film or an experience that profoundly influenced your outlook on life or work?
Yeah, this is because the thing is, I'm
going to be disappointed if you don't say Ted Lasso.
Well, clearly Ted Lasso, but I actually think there's can I say 2 things? There's a book and then there's a movie. So I'll go the movie first because I was younger. Dead Poets Society. Big fan of Robin Williams and his work, but Seize the Day and the impact that he as an educator and a teacher had on his young students to think and look beyond the world that they'd been given. So as a younger man, loving Robin Williams, but the message out of the Dead Poets Society, Carpe Diem, Seize the Day, And as an older man informing some of my political sort of views, it's the long road to freedom, the long walk to freedom, Nelson Mandela. And his ability to forgive his captors, his ability to embrace a game, rugby union, which was the personification of apartheid South Africa and the Afrikaan way, for him to embrace them because he had to, because he knew that was what it would take to bring that country together. So that book, to me, and his level of forgiveness for those people who had trespassed against him, and that he didn't walk off that path, he kept going. So sorry, not one but two. It's a book and a film, and Ted Lasso.
Pretty good.
Pretty good ones. Dave, thank you so much. It's been a really great conversation and really interesting.
I appreciate the time, and again, when you sort of ask what do you do to reflect on your career, it's these kind of moments where you do get caught in the busy moments of your day, but where you can actually reflect on your journey and who you are and your values. So I really appreciate the opportunity and hope people have enjoyed bits and pieces of it, and they can judge me how they will.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed it.
We have. Look, there's a former Queechy boy to another Queechy boy.
Curious.
Great to have you on the show.
Likewise, mate. Great products of the public school in Launceston.